Hello, everyone. I wish you are healthy as well as your family and your friends. And please do the possible to stay healthy. Okay, guys, today we're going to look at an important topic that happened under this guy right here, Andrew Jackson. And yes, if you think he looks familiar, it's because he comes out on the $20 bill. There's his face right there. So, Andrew Jackson is the seventh president of the United States. And there's something very important for you to remember is this date right here, 1829. Okay? The topic we're going to look at today is the Indian Removal Act of 1830. See, 1829, 1830. Remember that date, right? From Andrew Jackson. There you go, 1829. The next year, 1830, in the Indian Removal Act. Indian meaning the Native Americans, and removal means from to take them from one place and place them in another. Um, but before we go into deep into this law, um, well, I like to talk a little bit about Andrew Jackson himself. Um, before he even became president, way before he even became president, he practiced what he called Indian removal. Pretty much, he came up with this term, Indian removal. He didn't like the Native Americans that much. When he was a general, remember, he was a hero of the War of 1812 on the Battle of New Orleans. So he used the army after that all the time. And he used it against the Creeks in Georgia and Alabama, and he used the U.S. Army also against the Seminoles in Florida. Um, why would he attack them? Well, he wanted to take hundreds of thousands of acres from their land and give it to white farmers. Uh, so, way before even he became president, he already had this thing going on about the Indian removal. Of course, after he became president, his mission to remove and reduce the Indian population in the United States became a priority. And we could see it. 1829, he became president. 1830, he makes this act. Let's read this act right here, which says Mr. White from the Committee of Indian Affairs reported the following bill, which was read and passed to its second reading. A bill to provide for an exchange of lands with the Indians residing in any of the states or territories and for their removal west of the Mississippi River. So this act, it's a law that gives the government, and rejection of course, to use the army to remove the Indians to the west of the Mississippi River. Let's talk a little more in depth about this Indian Removal Act. Now, I want you to take a good look at this. In 1828, 1 year before he became president, gold was discovered in the state of Georgia, guys. This is Georgia right here. Okay? That's Georgia. Pretty much the gold was discovered northern part, that area that right there, other few states were a little bit, but Georgia, northern part of Georgia, they found gold. And they called it the Georgia Gold Rush. Actually, that's the second biggest gold rush in America. You all guys know the first one, California 49ers. First one. After that, the gold rush in Georgia. A lot of gold. So President Jackson knew about this, of course, and as soon as he became president, he put the Indian Removal Act and started taking indigenous from their native land and placing them into um, a reserved territory for them, which is over here. Over here is, you know, territories in Oklahoma. Um, the Indian Removal Act was the first major piece of legislature passed, of course, by the name of the Indian Removal Act. Um, he used the army to move, especially a few tribes, what they call the domestic dependent nations. Okay, right here we see domestic dependent nations, which means they're from home, domestic. they're dependent because we were supposed to take care of them, but there were still nations apart from the United States. Okay? Especially these five tribes right here, guys. Take a good look at this. The five civilized tribes: the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Creek, and the Seminole. Well, these guys were called the five civilized tribes because they tried to act as much as European as they could. Many of them dressed European, many of them spoke English, French, Spanish. So these guys spoke more languages sometimes than the Europeans themselves. Some of these guys even try to fit into the European mindset, the white civilization, where some of these guys even had black slaves. Yes, guys, some of these indigenous also had black slaves. Why? To fit the white civilization. Now, if we look at this, of course, we're looking at slave states territory. Okay? So to try to fit their style, some of these guys had black slaves. And they went and said, hey, but why you want to remove us? We even have black slaves like y'all guys do. And they were told, well, you and your black slaves could go and make your rain dance over here in Oklahoma. It wasn't called Oklahoma, but that's the, the territory where they send them to. Okay, guys, if you want to know what happens um, after this and how the five civilized tribes fought back, please look at my next video and make sure to answer the questions that are on the next link.